have 9 o'clock, and I'd like to call the September 18th meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order at this time, and recognize we do have a quorum. I will lead us in a invocation, and Commissioner Sims will lead us in a pledge of allegiance. If you desire to, pray with me, please. Merciful God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for a beautiful day and a wonderful time together to conduct the business of the county. We pray that we will have divine leadership and guidance in all decisions made here today. Thank you for the country we live in, the freedom that we have to conduct such meetings. We pray for our military, our emergency services, and our law enforcement, all who protect our rights to attend meetings such as these here today. In your heavenly name, we pray these prayers. Amen.
If you would, please stand if you're able and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
First on the agenda is discussion or adjustment and approval of the agenda with the addition of a closed session number 2 for attorney-client privilege. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 1 is public hearing to consider approval to finance a portion of the cost of certain improvements to public school facilities. Ms. Weinberg, oh yeah, there you are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
The purpose of this public hearing is to receive feedback on the county's plans to finance improvements to Person High School for an amount not to exceed $13 million. The improvements include, but are not limited to, safety and accessibility improvements to meet ADA requirements, security improvements to the interior and exterior of the school, and removal of parking areas on the north and east sides of the school. Other considerations under this public hearing are whether to execute and deliver a deed of trust which pledges the high school property as collateral for the project, a security agreement, and a fixture filing related to the county's interest in the property on which the school is located, along with the improvements that would be authorized.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to go into a public hearing at this time?
So moved.
Have a motion to go into public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carried. And so we've had the introduction, public comments. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chair, there are no individuals that have signed up to speak on favor of or in opposition of this public hearing.
So no comments. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. And there is no action required by the Commission Board on item number 1. So item number 2 is a public hearing. Consideration of approval to submit the fiscal year 25 Community Transportation Program application. Mr. Mitch Flagg.
Chairman Powell, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to appear before you representing the Transportation Department of Person County, or PATS. We have a staff of 9 full-time drivers, 13 part-time transit specialists, and 4 full-time administrative staffs who cheerfully serve the residents of Person County. In FY23, PATS accommodated over 57,000 trips and drove over 420,000 miles with our 14 vans and buses. Our mission is to provide safe, friendly, and reliable transportation to the citizens of Person County, utilizing the most efficient manner possible to increase mobility and support a livable community. Today, I bring to the board for approval the FY 2025 Community Transportation Program application. This application is divided into two categories: the administrative project, which is $208,280, which shows a 5% increase from last year, of which 15% is a local match is required of $31,239. The capital grant, which is used for the purchase of 3 buses, is what we're requesting, and an update on the onboard camera security system for a total cost of all of those $411,355, of which a 10% local match of $41,136 would be required. The totals for these two grants are $619,615, and the local share would be $72,375. The recommendation is for your approval of the grant submittal and use of the local funds noted for the FY 25 Community Transportation Program application. Are there any questions I can answer this morning?
Board member questions? Anyone?
Let me off easy this year.
Yeah, and you came dressed just for that, huh?
Thank you.
You did good. Yeah, you did good, sir. Do we have a motion now to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Have a motion to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have, anyone signed up, Madam Clerk, to speak in favor of or in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, there's no individuals that signed up in favor of or in opposition of for this public hearing.
We have no one signed up. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 on our agenda is consideration to grant or deny approval to submit the fiscal year 25 Community Transportation Program application. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. At this point in our meeting, we do have 10 minutes set aside for public comment where our citizens have the opportunity to come and express their concerns about county business. I'd like to remind everybody that if you are speaking, you are addressing the entire board, not any one individual. So all comments would be directed to the board again, and not specific individuals. And Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, sir, we have 4 individuals.
Okay, 3 minutes per would be okay. We'll go a couple of minutes over if needed.
Okay, yes, sir.
All right.
At this point in the presentation, I would like IT to go ahead and start the time clock. The first person we have today is Bob Brower of Roxboro, North Carolina.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I'm coming today as the chairperson for the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee for the county. One of our primary focus areas has been roadside litter, as you probably know. This is a problem that exists throughout the county and the city. In coordination with the North Carolina Department of Transportation and the city of Roxboro, we coordinate a twice-annual litter sweep in the spring and the fall. We just completed our fall litter sweep this last Saturday. I'm very happy to report we had nearly 50 participants who came out, donated their time and energy to pick up litter on our city and county roadsides. I'd also like to highlight that we had a great representation from RCS. Students came out and helped us out as well. We The pictures from the event can be found on our Facebook page, Person County Environmental Issues Advisory Committee, if you care to see those. We've also created a window sticker, which communicates our message that every litter bed hurts, and we should all be working together to prevent roadside litter and keep Person County clean. I'd like to provide these to the leadership here today, and ask that you display these to help us communicate this message to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And who's
The
next?
second speaker we have is Mr. Jimmy Clayton of Timberlake, North Carolina.
Good morning.
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 Sure does feel good to be on this side of the podium.
Make us all jealous.
I'm gonna give y'all a quiz this morning. I think you already know what I'm gonna say as soon as I start. There's a project in Person County that has 2 power plants with electricity going across it. The possibility of getting water from the Dan River. Fiber run by the county is going across that property. It's located where other industries wouldn't interfere with it. Has railroad access. It's near major highways, 501, 360 in Virginia, 58 in Virginia. The Corps of Engineers has already issued a lot of the permits for that project. By now, y'all, I'm sure you'll know probably more about it than I do. It had backing of state officials. We met numerous times when I was on the County Board of Commissioners getting backing for this project. It's close to the South Boston development area. And what I really want to say about it is, I heard some rumors that there's a possibility that this board might drop the option on that property when it comes due. Don't do that. This is your opportunity. That's the goose that laid the golden egg. Don't give it up. We've got to be very close because most of the other projects in North Carolina have already been used up. We're the only one that's left. Nowhere else has got that much electricity and access to water. So it's going to happen sooner or later. So if you can't afford the lease, then I'll get you to spend some more money if you would. We had good borrowing capacity. We paid off the school bonds when I was on the board early. And they had built two elementary schools and financed a lot of renovations. And y'all got borrowing capacity. If you get a big project up there, take your tax that you get off of that project and apply it to the debt. And as large a project as it could come into that area, you might have a substantial amount of tax money coming back in. So, I would urge you to buy the property. If you don't want to do that, renew the lease. Don't let it get away from Person County. If it's the future of Person County, keep all the cars from leaving the county. Let them stay here. Let our people in this county have jobs within the county. Don't listen to the negative voices telling you no. Remember what you learned in school. I can't, never did anything. You taught that, Mr. Powell, I know you did. You told your students, don't say I can't. I can't, never did anything. So don't say I can't. Don't let this project get away from Person County. A lot of work was done on it. There's nowhere else in North Carolina that they had the Corps of Engineers permits. And the only reason you didn't get a lot of money during the last 2 or 3 years for this project was you didn't own it. If you'd have owned it, you would have got you could have got a lot of grant money for it. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have Penny DeYoung of Roxboro, North Carolina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I'm Penny DeYoung, and I have spoken to 3 of you on this board in depth over the course of the past 3 weeks concerning the matter in which I'm here to present to you today. I'm here representing not only my family, but foster parents and other families that share similar experiences as mine. And I'm not here to speak on the legal matter of this case. I understand that is an issue for an attorney. But I come before you specifically requesting for this board to do an investigation and an audit into the mismanagement of DSS for Person County. And I would like for you all to follow up with me as a result of this request. And as a taxpaying citizen of Person County, I am aware that some of that money is used to fund the Department of Social Services. And I want to know what you all will do with your elected influences. You have in front of you a chronological list of events for this case, along with a picture of one of the boys, Kylan Haygood, just days before he entered into DSS, into the custody of the state. The other picture is one of the last pictures that was taken of our boys before DSS took them away from us. And to highlight some of them facts, these children were placed in our care July 31st, 2019. And for your benefits with respect to my reference of these events and mismanagement of this case, it must be recognized that DSS did not follow proper procedures. And some of those examples are that there was never a mental health assessment done on the biological mother. I was told that that could not be rescheduled. There was no investigation on the mental health disorders and previously documented medications for this mother, as the mother and the therapist refused to give this information. Jennifer Holt Rogers, which was the social worker, was informed by the biological mother that the home where the supervised visits were being conducted was in fact not the home she was living in, yet she was living with a boyfriend in Durham. Yet there was no investigation on this boyfriend or a safety check on the home in which she was listing that she was living in. Jennifer Holt Rogers committed perjury during her testimony on August 31st by denying to acknowledge whether or not the biological father had a license. She did not give the correct time of her involvement, when her involvement began on this case, and in her report she also had incorrect ages for these children. Carrie, who is another social worker that she supervises the visits, documented in her report that the biological father showed up to one of his visits smelling like alcohol and marijuana, and also that he had his oldest daughter accompanying him. But yet he was allowed to continue with the supervised visit and allowed to leave that facility with his daughter in that vehicle. The social workers tend to use threatening tactics, such as telling the foster parents and caregivers that they have a certain amount of time to bring these children to DSS or they're going to send the cops to their house. They also like to use the term, "it's the judge's orders." I respectfully, to continue please, I just have a few more minutes. As means to meet their demands. And during the transition of these children at DSS on September the 4th, Kim King and Carrie conducted themselves in ways which is contrary to the department's policy and which is supposed to be in the best interest of these children. And social workers, since all this has happened, has given their personal opinion over social media platforms, one in which privately messaged me with a threatening message, and I have kept records of all this. And all these things are being done under the supervision of the director, Carlton Paler, and DSS took our boys away from us after 4 years of unconditional love and trust. In doing so, DSS not only abused us emotionally, but also they were supposed to save them from abuse, which was our boys. And I have a list of foster parents and other families that have had similar experiences with this department. And I have a petition that has been signed by 2,500 people that are looking to the members of this board to take action on the injustice and mismanagement and the appearance of cover-ups that are taking place daily by the individuals employed at the Department of Social Services.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have other speakers?
Yes, sir. The last speaker we have signed up is P.J. Gentry of Hurdle Mills, North Carolina.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. You got your hands full. You've known about DSS for years and you've done nothing. You shut me down when I tried to help. What are you going to do now? The other thing is former Commissioner Clayton was spot on. I advocated 2 years ago, get control of the property. And you haven't done it. You have the capacity, you have to have the will to do it. What are you going to do? You got to be proactive, not reactive, if you want to have some progress in the county. And progress is not an ugly thing. You're gonna build 500-600 homes in this county. Where are the people gonna come from? They aren't gonna be from here. You best get prepared. The other issue that I emailed all of you, I have had a response only from Commissioner Palmer at this point. I'm in Durham County. I sit on the board of realtors there, on the legislative committee and some other committees, and I was invited to a presentation by Cypress Creek Solar on a 731-acre solar park proposed for Person County. I thought that was extremely odd. And then in the paper this week, our Courier-Times, there's a write-up by a electrical engineer who is a green activist supporting this 731-acre proposed solar farm in Person County. Now, I know we passed an ordinance limiting solar farms to 100 acres. But I also know that Cypress Creek is out there going around you, advocating, pushing. Now, this woman thinks this would be a great thing for Person County. She doesn't live here. And I don't think the residents of Person County would be all thrilled about it. In addition, I'm concerned that this is something that Duke Energy is going to want to push. Because when I look at what their future plans are, they want to increase solar. And solar has great purposes for certain things. But taking up farmland and creating solar glass farms is just going to eat up land. And if that's what you want, if you want to turn over 30, 40, 50% of your state, federal government land, personal lands to these companies, you're going to have to pay the consequences. And I urge you to stick with your original ordinance limiting this, no matter what the pressure is. No matter what Duke Energy wants. This is something they may have to compromise for the people of Person County. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Yes, sir, it does.
That's everybody. Okay, under new business, item number 5 on your agenda is Duke Energy update by Ms. Townsend.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My slides will show up. Here we go. Do I click with this or do they? Okay, great. Thank you. So good morning. It's great to see all of you in a different capacity. Glad to be here on behalf of Duke Energy, and we also have Jimmy Blythe as well here today. So I will get started in our slide presentation, and you've seen the article in the newspaper. You've received some additional information. But bottom line is Duke Energy is focused on providing reliable and affordable energy to the 4.5 million retail customers that we have in North and South Carolina. As we've seen energy demands increase, we've also focused on transitioning to that cleaner energy. We're a growing state. North and South Carolina, thanks to the economic development successes and the population growth, we are a growing state. And over the next 15 years, we expect to see a surge of around 35,000 gigawatt hours. So what does that mean? If you look at the states of Delaware, Maine, and New Hampshire, that's the energy they're producing, and that's the energy we will need to add to our dual system state over these next 15 years. So in a couple of months ago, in August, or last month in August, we submitted a plan to the Utility Commission that focused on 3 different core portfolios, and you have this as a handout as well, this slide and the next slide. And this is called the Carbon Plan Integrated Resources Plan, or the CPIRP, if you see that acronym. The 3 plans are showcasing different layouts of what could happen. And Duke Energy is proposing Plan 3 or Portfolio 3, which is on the bottom line there, that provides a diverse technology for our energy going forward. On the next slide, which again you have as a handout, you'll see some of the benefits for those various diverse technologies that we are providing. For example, the combined cycle, which is proposed for Person County, is available 24/7 and offers lower emissions than our current coal plants. And once it's converted to 100% hydrogen, it will have 0 emissions. And these systems also respond faster and are more reliable than the coal plants overall. But you can see the full layout right there of the various technologies and again, their benefits. So this slide demonstrates the look of where we are from transitioning from coal to where we need to go. And we're using the theory of replace before retire. So as part of the proposal that we recently made, the coal plants will be extended here in Person County. We'll be completely out of coal by 2035, but in that time frame, we'll be able to extend our plants here, which extends the work opportunities, the tax base, but also allows us to prepare and bring in the natural gas plants and start them before we retire the coal. Here's a breakdown of the, of the various coal retirement that we are suggesting. And again, we are looking at that green section, which is what we have proposed. So on the very bottom there, you see the Mayo plant would retire in 2031. The Roxborough plants, sections 1 and 2 would retire in 2029. And the sections 3 and 4 at the Roxborough plant would be 2034. This slide kind of shows us the differences between the 3 portfolios. And again, we're looking at that green line, which is what we propose as the most reliable and sustainable over the next several years. You see that we are getting to that 0 emissions by 2050. And again, we're doing so with that replace before retire idea and using the various technologies. This is a very in-depth graphic that shows you again the different energies that will be used. Natural gas is that darker blue that you see. Nuclear is green. Solar is included. And we have some other energies as well. But that gives you again another idea of what we're looking for as replacement. So, let me go back to this slide. So again, we proposed for Person County that a natural gas plant be located at the current Roxborough plant where we have the coal plant in operation. And we did a similar project to this in Asheville. And so we used that as a comparison to give an idea of what benefits we'll see in this community. Again, not only changing the energy technology, but also we'll see jobs, we'll see construction jobs as the gas plant is created, jobs after the fact, and a tax base that Duke Energy will continue to pay here in Person County. This slide shows you a little bit of an in-depth look of the natural gas plant, and again, we are proposing the one here for the HYCO plant, the Roxborough plant, and there is potential to possibly bring in a second, which will, again, increase job opportunities in the area. So the key takeaways is in order for Duke Energy to continue to provide the energy that's needed in North and South Carolina, we need to look at a diverse portfolio. And in doing so, we are looking very strongly at making sure that we can replace the generation that is already here in the communities where it's already located. We are definitely committed to Person County and making sure that we can stay a part of this community and extending the coal plants, adding the natural gas plants. That is our first step in the coming years moving forward. Any questions?
Have several. Last Christmas, or last December, we received notice of rolling blackouts across North Carolina and Person County.
Right.
What happened?
Technologies did cause concern at that point, and there was an expected blackout, but it did linger longer and was greater than expected. And we are addressing those concerns going forward with the Utility Commission as well, making sure that we are upgrading and updating and being prepared for the severe energy and the severe weather that severe energy needs that we see due to the severe weather going forward.
Prior to that date, how many coal plants been shut down in Person County, well, North Carolina?
That I do not know. Jimmy, do you know by chance?
It was 38 units, I believe.
38 units.
That's writing on the wall.
And so we are looking to, again, bring in that replacement energy going forward.
I know. I've read all of it multiple times. Okay, now there's been a whole lot of pushback over the years over these wind turbines. Now you're talking about putting them out in the ocean and on land. Have you seen one of them burning?
I have not.
No, I didn't think so. You seen any EV cars burning?
I have
How the
not.
batteries explode?
I have
I
not.
didn't think so. The lithium it takes to make these solar panels. Have you seen the excavation work that it takes to get small amounts of this stuff?
I have not.
I didn't think so. That's all the questions I got.
And so again, today we're talking about adding natural gas plants to Person County to stay sustainable in this community.
I would just like to comment on, I do have concerns about the solar farms in Person County. I've always had concerns about them, and especially when we're talking about 750 acres. I mean, that's a concern of mine. The other thing is that, and I surely hope we get to this point, is small nuclear reactors. I think we need those. I think that needs to be something down the road that Duke does, because that is the future. Now, there'll be people that will argue and maybe complain and maybe say there's safety issues, whatever, but I think that's something that we need to look at for the future, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate Duke doing what they're doing. Appreciate that you've given Person County the opportunity to keep the plants open, and I hope that we will continue good partnership down the road.
Thank you. There is a nuclear plant proposed, a small modular reactor proposed in Stokes County, which Jimmy's area does cover. And that's part of this portfolio that's been presented, in addition to the natural gas here, a nuclear location in Stokes County. So we are definitely working on that technology, and there might be potential for other locations in the future.
Anyone else?
Just want to thank you for your presentation and transparency. And as Commissioner Sims mentioned, greatly appreciate your cooperation and partnership with the county, and we look for future success with these projects.
Well, we are very grateful to the board for your support over the years when we presented the carbon plan to begin with. You came forward in support of our efforts, and we certainly hope you'll do the same going forward as we continue to try to do our best to stay in Person County as much as possible. So.
Anyone else? You know, we are going through a period of transition related to energy, and it's different, lots of different opinions. All along, however, I think Duke Energy has expressed their desire to be a center of new technology in North Carolina or even on the East Coast. And I think, well, I won't speak for anyone else. We have appreciated that, and we want to stick to that plan because Duke Energy has been an essential part of Person County's economic development and growth and stability for 6 decades or better. And we want to remain in that category. So in changing times and things to come, we want to be involved with new technology. And the going away from coal is, as Commissioner Palmer has stated, pretty much the handwriting's on the wall. It is going to happen. So do we have a desire to be a part of that growth, expansion, new technology? My opinion is yes. And exactly how we go about that, I don't know. I like the concept of a new gas-fired plant here and the potential of 2 gas-fired plants, and then eventually going to small modular nuclear. I mean, it is the future. And it's over a long period of time, so in a sense, we do have time to sort of get ready for and work toward that, kind of in lockstep with Duke Energy. Again, all that's new technology, and I like the concept of being the center of new technology in, again, not only Person County, North Carolina, but even the East Coast. So we want to be part of that. The timelines on that are out there, extensive. We're talking 2050.
Right.
But at that point in time, if these projects come to fruition, Person County's tax benefits will be far beyond what they are currently. So there is this interim period there from today until then. It's futuristic, and I'm not smart enough to explain all that, but I can see that, and we certainly want to be a part of it. Question for you. It appears that at the top of your plan right now is solar. Are there plans for solar panels currently on Duke property?
We have not discussed that at this time. There's been no conversation about solar on our property in Person County.
Okay, so it would be other properties
Correct.
that you would look to?
In other counties across the state.
Okay. All right. During this transition period there, say a little bit more about the tax advantage during this transition period from today through construction of gas
Sure.
power plants.
Sure. So while the construction is occurring, obviously there would be some tax benefits that are above what the coal plant already generates. As the transition of the coal plants being decommissioned and the gas plant coming into fruition, the tax benefits would be based on those locations, on the actual gas plant. And what we saw in, let me go back, I don't know if I can pull those slides up again, or it's also on the handout, but for the benefit of the community behind me. What we saw in Asheville was, let me see, we saw construction jobs, we saw, let me go back to that slide so that we can, maybe it was up here. My apologies. Here we go. So we saw construction jobs bringing, a lot of work opportunities to the community in Asheville. We expect the same. And so a project that was similar, again, generated more than $1.5 million for new county property taxes. Again, this is Asheville, this is a comparison, but it's our closest comparison at this point in time.
Okay, do you have any thoughts as to those plant closures and when our tax base and depreciation will begin to go in the downward direction?
We'd have to look at a timeline and sit down and look at that together. I don't have that information offhand.
Okay.
No. But I can make note of that.
Okay, and considering that scenario with building of a plant, when will those two correlate or come into alignment with each other where we don't have a Duke Energy reduction in?
Right. I believe it was 2029 when we expect the natural gas plant to be operational.
Yeah, okay.
And so there'll be a little bit of overlap there.
So Duke is giving consideration to, in a sense, tax values
Yes.
in the county during, not a drop dead date, but transitionally would
Transitioning.
coincide with each other.
Correct.
Mhm, okay.
And we will find out from the Utility Commission, it should be late summer when we get the final go-ahead with our proposal of the gas plants. The final paperwork will be submitted in January. We submitted the preliminary paperwork in September, on September 1st, and the final paperwork will be submitted in January, and that leads us to believe we'll hear by the end of summer.
Okay, all right.
Chairman Powell,
Very good. Yes, sir, please.
one more question,
Sure.
please. I've heard it both ways. You're not gonna build on the footprint that the 4 boilers for HYCO are sitting on, and I've heard it that you are, according to this plan I just read.
It will, are you asking if it will be right where the current?
Exactly where the plant's sitting at.
It will not be where the plant is sitting at.
Can you give us an idea?
I don't have the maps here, but it's certainly something I can get for you.
Is it across from Woodland School?
I couldn't tell you offhand, to be honest,
Thank you.
but I'll look into that. But it will not be where the current plants are because we need them still running while we're creating the new facility.
Units 1 and 2 is going down quicker, so that's just why I asked.
Right, yeah.
I'm not getting in the middle, so to speak, but I am in the middle. The plan is not to build across from Woodland. That's a site being used for maybe some soil removal and for storage of materials being used for other projects. The proposed plants will be near the water, so you gotta have water, and currently on Duke Energy property. Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I'm right, I don't know.
Jimmy, do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the map.
Yeah, okay,
But I can definitely follow up with you on that.
yes, okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I want to let you all know that I attended an event last week and had dinner with Kendall Bowman, the Duke Energy North Carolina president, and with Kevin McLaughlin, their vice president for governmental and public affairs. And we had a lengthy discussion about Person County. President Bowman assured me again, as the senior Duke Energy folks continue to assure all of you all sincerely and truthfully, that Duke Energy is intently focused on Person County for future opportunities. And I am confident that that does include potentially small modular nuclear when the time and circumstances for that are right. And I want to tell the 2 folks who are here, one of whom I've known for a long time, that we appreciate, everyone associated with Person County appreciates the very constructive working relationship that we have had and continue to have with senior Duke Energy officials. Remember, there is a legal framework in place and a process that will continue for Duke Energy to continue discussing these and their service area-wide plans with the regulators at the state level. the carbon plan proceeding is still open, and Duke Energy is required under that order to continue to make some filings to keep the commission informed about and to, in some respects, seek regulatory approval for future plans. So there is that formal forum, but there are certainly opportunities, continuing opportunities for a lot of informal discussions, all constructive.
Any other comments? To add to what Attorney Hankins has said there, Duke has said previously, we want to be where we wanted, and I've always said, we want you here. We want to continue. And thank you for coming and doing this presentation and an update, and I look forward to, as things evolve and change, with that, you'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Need to back up just a second here and look at item number 4. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was presented.
So moved.
Motion to approve. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. Okay, item number 6 would be introduction and presentation of item by Amanda Everett about Person Industries, Materials and Recovery Facility. Ms. Everett?
Good morning.
Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you.
I am here today to present the bid summary that you received a copy of and contract award for the merger and the renovations for the PI, for Person Industries and the MRF. I'm asking you to award contract to Legacy Building Company and authorize the county manager to execute the contract on behalf of Person County. Each of you received a copy of the bid summary, which went into details about when the bid was submitted, how we went through the due diligence for the state recommendations of the bid contracts, which ones needed to be received. We set an original deadline for June the 19th, and I received one completed bid and then one RFQ at that time. State requirements mentions that we have to receive 3 bids on that first time, or we have to repost. We reposted then with a deadline of August the 1st. I received another qualified bid, which then gave me the ability to choose the most qualified. I sat down and had meetings with both individuals that had put in for the completed bids. They came to the recycling center, reviewed all the information, the property, met with us. Both were very well-versed companies, and we did select, as you can see on the bid summary, we selected Big Legacy Building Company due to their timeline and also the reduction in what their bid come in at. There is also a possibility that this bid will be cut even more because there was some detailed information that they had included on their bid in regards to storefront windows around the entire portion of the building, and we're able to cut about $100,000 when we cut down on those windows for that. Providing this summary is just some information that you can look over so that we can get this bid awarded. And it's just some information to be considered when we're talking about moving forward with the merger. The current lease at 601 North Madison Boulevard, where Person Industries is currently located, that will expire May 25th, 2025. And the potential purchase price for that building is significantly higher than tax value, as well as the building condition is it's poor and it's deteriorating, and there are major upgrades and repairs that are needed if we were to stay in that building. Also, just to remind you and let you know that there is an application for an EPA, which is Environmental Protection Act grant. The original award date for the Swiffer grant was set to be alerted in April of '23. They then extended it for the award to be named in July, and then I did get the update last week that the award will be named at the end of this month. So right now, it is in hopes that $1 million will be awarded to us with this. I applied for a grant for the entire program, which is over the next 2 years in the CIP. for a total of $3.4 million for the merger and also the upgrade of material and equipment at the MRF. The current MRF building we are now in, our material and our equipment is going on 13 to 14 years. And every year that comes, we are spending more and more money to update this material for us to keep this going. So, we anticipate that the county is gonna receive the grant funding, but if it's not awarded this fiscal year, an appropriation fund balance may be necessary from the general fund to cover the expenses that have been listed in the CIP.
Thank you. We had 3 bids.
We had 2 bids and one,
One that,
for request for qualifications.
that satisfied the requirements.
Yes, sir.
It was good to see that both of those that did submit were Person County.
I was very excited for that. I was
And-
hoping that that would happen. Of course, I can't control who submits for the bids, but
No, but
it was very nice to see that we had local companies that were reaching out to do
it's
this.
good. And so that, the amount of the bid is 2.1 million.
Yes, sir.
And the grant that you're speaking of, will that roll over into this, or how's that gonna work?
That will, we're hoping that we'll at least apply, I applied for the entire amount for the grant. I'm hoping that we'll at least get some of that, and we're hoping for $1 million that will go into that. The rest of it has been incorporated into the CIP.
Very good. Well, any questions? Commissioners,
Comment,
please.
the building you're located in on Madison Boulevard is at least 50 years old.
Yes, sir.
Probably never had any major upgrades or,
Other than when we moved in and they built in the offices up front from where it was the grocery store.
right.
We spent all summer last year with no air condition. They fixed what they could, they patched it. We are constantly having leaks in this roof because for some reason we have a very interesting crow problem, buzzard problem, over there. We hear them running, on the roof during the day. It's like they're having a party. So, we don't know. We've even called in Environmental Protective Services and they have done certain things, but, lots of updates. Even IT, we have it seems like every time something happens, with a storm, we get hit and we go down. Sometimes that's with the tower, sometimes it has to do with the wiring and everything that has to go on at our building, that it's so out of date. So we're just trying to do everything that we can to stay up and running safely without the county dumping money into a building that we don't own, and that hopefully we will not be in, trying to save money in that aspect.
Well, I think it's a great idea to combine the two, because it's getting rid of a lease and an inadequate and dilapidated building
Yes, sir.
that you're using now. So,
This will
Thank you.
also provide us lots of opportunities when it comes to services that we can provide, because we will have all of our staff under one roof. We can revamp on how we provide services, the availability that we have, without adding additional staff, to provide the services that Person Industries does. So, it's a win-win all around when it comes to the business model.
It's sort of been a long journey. I hope that all this comes to fruition, and the grant in particular that would offset some of
Yes,
the
sir.
costs there. I think there are tremendous advantages to having all that in one location, and I look forward to that happening, because recycling is important, I
Yes.
believe, to Person County.
And that, the second phase of this, where we're updating the machinery at the recycling center, will provide us so many other avenues of what we can do, of sorting the material down, to really balance off the revenues and expenditures where it comes in to with recycling.
There was a note sort of to say that equipment would be included in that update.
Yes, sir, that's, phase 2, that's the whole 3.4 million.
And,
And we do have other, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
we do have other grants that I'm gonna be applying for on the state level. Some of those are due this November, and we can apply for those year after year that can go towards the update and go into the pot of getting that machinery.
I think with the new machinery, certainly there, number one is probably a safety
Yes, sir.
issue that might be improved there, which is good. Roughly, Amanda, how much material there that goes through recycling that should go to the landfill?
For a while there, we were running on about a 60-40% wise of contamination that was coming through the recycling center. So about 60% was recyclable and 40% was going to the landfill. And my individuals that we employ were hand sorting this material. So when we talk about a nasty job, each individual that has worked for my organization has worked that line. So we've been in there with the gloves on. I participated in the solid waste study that we did back in, I think, 2015 or 16, dressed in Tyvek suits from head to toe, sorting through trash. So we're doing everything we can. We're seeing a little bit better, cleaner material since we have really been pushing the no bags. People are not able to hide material as bad, but we still have a good contamination issue. That is across the state. That's not just with Person County. We try to attend as many networking events and meetings that we can to keep up to date on that.
It's a sad situation
It
that we
is.
have our citizens that really simply don't have the respect
Yes, sir.
to do what's right and look at the roadside debris. You don't have to be very smart to figure that out.
Yes, sir.
But appreciate your efforts there and,
Thank you.
and what's going on, and look for certainly improvement as time goes on.
Chairman Powell,
Yes, sir.
one more question.
Yes, sir.
Did we ever catch the vandals, we'll call them, who dumped the truckload of wood in the dumpster?
No, it was a expired tag, and the sheriff's office has been very supportive on that. We catch people on the cameras, we submit the information to them. They will either make a visit to their house, because we're in a kind of, it's not considered littering because it's on the property of a recycling center, and then it can't be considered if somebody's there stealing stuff because people have abandoned the material. So we're in a kind of sticky situation, but the sheriff's office has been really supportive when we see people that are illegally dumping. We send letters just to let them know, hey, we have caught you. We can't press charges or anything like that, but we can get the information just get it out there that we're staying on top of that.
Yeah, I went by one morning, which I go by
Yes, sir.
several times a week, and that morning the dumpster was virtually half full of lumber.
Yep.
And I called Rhonda, let her know, and she followed back up that she sent me a picture of the U-Haul van
Yeah.
or truck. And it had a license plate on it, but like you said, it was expired, so they couldn't get a picture of the
And
people.
it was also, no, we didn't, I mean,
They probably
and
had
it was
hoodies
U-Haul
on.
too, so that doesn't give us anybody to pull it back to, but we try whenever we come across those big loads, the signs that say no mattresses, and then the mattresses laying right against the building right under the sign. So just like Commissioner Powell was saying, it's the lack of respect. We have tried to make things as easy and well understood as we can with recycling, and that's what we're being told that we have to do. Just keep making it, just keep the education out there.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Where do we stand currently as far as getting a mattress recycler or shredder?
So we have a visit scheduled for October the 20th or the 28th. I'm sorry, it's one of those Fridays. We have a visit scheduled with Wake County. I have a contact there. They just started up their shredder, which also does tires, and we are going to visit that along with the city of Roxborough are sending some individuals as well. And we're just gonna go down there and see what all it involves, how they run it, what could it save us, and how we can work together, hopefully with the city. That is a machine that we could definitely do and have at the recycling center. I don't know about the cost for mattresses. I mean, I know what what the landfill wants to go to, or what they will be going to in January. But as far as, recycling tires, we spend about $70,000 a year on just recycling tires. Now, we do get the majority, about 95% of that, from state tax, from the scrap tire tax that we get back. So that is covered, but we can use that money at the recycling center for other things if we're not having to pay. So if we have that kind of shredder down the road, we can shred the tires ourselves and actually sell it to end users, where we would bring in revenues
Make
instead
revenue.
of paying out expenditures.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for looking into that. I think, county manager and a representative from Dominion, or rather, Republic,
Yes, sir.
had a discussion back, I guess it was in the spring,
Yes. It's been a while.
about this issue, because they were going to start charging $250 per mattress.
Yes.
July 1. Well, they extended that up through December of this calendar year. So, at that point in time, Andrew, Kathy, and you, and maybe others, did look into the request that I had to investigate. And I mean,
Yes, sir.
see what's out there and who's doing what, and so I think it's a good thing we're moving forward with that idea as well, because it's quite a problem, and one that we need to address. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
if I can ask Ms. Everett a question and then a couple to staff. Ms. Everett, do you have a proposed written contract in hand from the company?
I do not. I just have a bid. The contract, we were waiting first for you all to approve for us to submit the bid
Well,
contract.
I will look forward to reviewing that if the
Okay.
company wishes to submit a contract, or
Okay.
otherwise we'll deal with it. Question about the state grant, the potential $1 million state grant, you may have said,
That's the
but,
federal grant.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I
So-
just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Okay. What do you think is the timing for that?
So we filled this out. This was due in February.
Okay.
The original date was to let everyone know in April. Didn't hear anything. Update came. Next date to let everyone know was July. Nothing came. I received an update last week that they were gonna make awards and let everyone know by the end of September. So we should know
So-
yay or nay
Very good.
by the end of this month. They had $40 million within the grant, and they had I think around 130 applicants.
Question to some combination of the county manager and finance officer is in the room. The funds are included in the approved capital improvement plan. Do y'all construe that as the appropriation, or one of the other things the memo says is if we do not receive the grant, then there needs to be an appropriation from fund balance. Can you say some words about that?
So we did pledge the fact that we were counting on these grant funds to come. At this point, normally we would say we might delay, but in this case, time is not on our side for this. So I think, Amanda's done a good job to present the fact that there is some risk here, but yet, we really need to move forward. We don't have a lot of options, right now, so
Right.
we've really got to move forward with this regardless, and in hopes that, this grant will come for some, if not all, of what she's applied for, in addition to the grant funds, I think, that are potential that she can get for, other things like her equipment. So it is kind of, there is some risk, but I think it's going to pay off in efficiencies from the merging of the building and really getting out of that dilapidated building, and creating a safer environment for our employees.
So we budgeted $2.1 million in this fiscal year for the project itself, and conservatively estimated, the way you look at it, since she applied for the full project and funding, we did estimate $1 million from the grants. And in conversations that Amanda has had with the funding agency, she feels very good about receiving some amount of funding towards this project. But it is that $1 million that is at question in this fiscal year, where we have proposed that, worst case scenario, there would need to be a fund balance appropriation to make that up if we do not receive $1 million in grant funding.
The grant timeline fell really well, right at the time we had the feasibility study done, so I was able to provide a substantial amount of information within the grant that some other companies may not have been able to. That's where I feel that I want to be gung-ho about it, so.
So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, here is my advice. I do believe, based on what I've heard, that the recommended action is in order and is timely, but with the unwritten understanding that two things need to happen after that. There needs to be a written contract that is acceptable, that I can recommend to the county manager that she execute, as you've authorized. And number two, the funds have to be in hand before the finance officer can attach her pre-audit certification, and unless and until she does that, under state law, the contract's not valid.
Yes, sir.
Having said that, what action?
Mr. Chairman, I think it is appropriate for the board to take the recommended action as stated in the memo.
Okay.
Okay, we've got that. I believe, but back up just a minute. What is the law and what's the reason that our capable law enforcement can't prosecute violators with dumping of materials? And we've seen it, everything from mattresses to wood to whatever. Why can't we prosecute?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
everybody hid.
you want a lawyer answer, and there's some law enforcement officers in the room. To convict anyone of any crime, obviously, there has to be, the assistant district attorney has to put on in court evidence of that all the essential elements of the crime have been committed. That's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You got to know who did it. You got to have the evidence. You got to be able to prove that.
When I started all of this with our previous sheriff, Dewey Jones, he had mentioned to me, and I need to be fully, please correct me, that because it was not considered littering, because we were the recycling center, so people were surrendering the material, even though it was material that we did not accept.
Well, so here's some more unsolicited advice from the county attorney. It might be that if this is an issue, particularly if it
Yes,
might
sir,
be
it
a
is.
continuing issue.
Yes, sir.
Let's have some discussion about maybe improving the county ordinances
Ordinances.
beyond whatever state law might say.
That's what other counties have the ordinances set up within their own, just like a simple ordinance of if you have one bit of trash in your recycling bin, the whole bin does not get picked up. So they have ordinances set in. I would like to visit that one day so that we could clean all that up.
Another issue.
Yes,
One
sir.
issue for another day, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, we've heard the presentation. We have the recommendation for us. What's the desire of the board?
Mr. Chairman, authorized to award a contract to Legacy Building Company, and after the careful review of the county attorney, allow the county manager to execute the contract on behalf of the county.
Have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just a couple of things for Chairman's report. Did attend, among other meetings and events, an Outstanding Relay for Life event that we had this past weekend with beautiful weather and large number of participants and people there, and it was a great event for not only the purpose, but a showing of support from Person County citizens. And another did attend a planning and zoning meeting related to an upcoming topic and subject, and very informative, and because of the extent of that discussion, there will be a second meeting related to that. So those are two things that were outstanding, but several other events that I did attend. Commissioner Sims, or rather, I'm sorry, Manager Catherine.
Sure, thank you. So as Chairman Powell noted, the planning board did meet last week and they did their initial review of the new Unified Development Ordinance. So that has been drafted in conjunction with our consultants, Benchmark, and a steering committee and our planning staff. We did have some public comments made at the planning board meeting, and the planning board would like to look at some additional revisions to the UDO at their next meeting, which they rescheduled for October 19th. So there is still opportunity for the public to provide feedback over the course of the next month, and also to attend that meeting, and we're working through a process for that to eventually become a recommendation for adoption by the Board of Commissioners. And prior to that, there would also be a public hearing. I'd also like to share that we are in the process of implementing a new emergency notification system that will be available to both employees and the public. It is on the RAVE platform. So we have gone through various iterations of testing over the last week or two, and have not sent out the full test message yet to employees, but we do hope to get that out sometime this week, and then we'll get more information out to the public about the opportunity to sign up for emergency notifications through this system.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Sims?
Yeah, I attended the public comments for the ordinances that were being reviewed, and, you know, again, I said this, you know, I didn't have to be there, but I was there. I wanted to hear what the public comments were, and I think it's important that the public attend those meetings and express your concerns. And as I told the people that were there, the ordinances that we were reviewing, they're not etched in stone. And so this is the time for the public to make their comments to us, to the planning board, and then if we're able to make adjustments to them. But I just want to say, I think that, again, I appreciate the people that did come out to make their comments. The other thing is the litter sweep. Appreciate everyone that attended that. That's a big number, what, 50 people, something like that. Appreciate them giving their time up to go out there and try to make our county beautiful. So I appreciate that. And I guess my last thing is I was a little disturbed about the report we got about the DSS. And I feel like, you know, I always say there's two sides to every story, but I certainly think this needs to be investigated. We need to look at this. And I feel, you know, strongly for the families that were involved. And hopefully we can take care of this situation and figure out what exactly is going on out there with the DSS. That's it.
Mr. Palmer?
I did come to Relay for Life twice. Once I had my huge dog with me. He created a stink though, so I had to take him home. So anyway, it was a great event, well attended. I'm glad they moved it from the high school to across the street here, because it gives me a easier route to get here. On that case that Commissioner Sims just brought up, it is very, very, very disturbing. But from my contact sources, I'm told that the mother has moved to Durham now. So that basically takes it out of our jurisdiction. I don't know if we can follow up on that or not. But I would love to see something cold and hard evidence that them kids are taken care of as they should be now. There's an outright shame for parents not to tend to their children and raise their children properly, with guidance, with nurturing, with love and respect. That's all I have.
Commissioner Puryear?
Just to echo Commissioner Sims and Commissioner Palmer, I do feel that it is, that this needs to be looked at regarding the DSS issue. And to investigate and to follow back up with this board what is within our scope of DSS. And I, it's very troubling of everything I've heard, and we need to take a deeper look into this, and so I would appreciate, it sounds like we do have majority support of the board for it to be reviewed in what capacity we can review it at, and that's my concern.
Commissioner Thomas?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I had the opportunity last Saturday to speak at the Patriots Day right before the rain hit. Patriots Day is important. We should never forget 9/11. I also attended Relay for Life, and that was a well-attended, well-put-together event. The DSS needs to be looked into. I spent an hour and 20 minutes on the phone with Ms. DeYoung the other night, and it was heartbreaking to hear her story. But we all know that there's three sides to there's three sides of stories. There's the truth, there's their side, and the other side. We need to find the truth. We need to look into this. That's all I have.
I could back up a little bit, say, I totally agree with, there's an issue and there's a concern and a need to investigate, but the scope of our authority as a commission board needs to be understood by the public. DSS is a little different in that, it has its own board. Next step up the ladder is the state. Somewhere in that mix is the county, but the county has no jurisdiction or authority over DSS. Is that correct?
That is largely correct.
Yes, so we need to respect that. Now, other circumstances prompted a discussion, quite a lengthy discussion and debate, as Ms. Gentry pointed out earlier, about consolidating DSS or rolling it under the jurisdiction of the county. But the state would require that we add the health department as well. So, based on that, the decision was made not to combine those, if I remember correctly. Manager Kathy, do you know roughly how many employees are in DSS?
There's 100 plus.
Okay,
about
and the
130,
health department?
40-ish.
So, 150 plus employees that would then come under your jurisdiction? As of now, it is not. Although
They are county employees,
they
but
are
they
county
report
employees.
directly to those directors who have hiring and firing authority. So there are certain relationships we have with those employees, like we do with the employees of the sheriff's office.
Right.
But there are, as far as reporting relationships go, they report directly to those directors.
And,
who report to their
and
boards.
their individual boards. And those boards, do they hire and
The
fire?
health-
If we
Yes,
would use that term?
DSS board has hiring and firing authority solely over the director.
Over the director, and the county does not have that authority.
Correct.
Yes, okay. Well, and I'm totally on the children's side, my career was with children, and I have children, I have grandchildren. So all of these sentiments have been expressed are at the top of the list here, because, they can't speak for themselves, in a sense. They can't vote either, if you want to consider that. So they fall under, in a sense, again, our jurisdiction. And we need to work with whomever the powers to be to rectify this situation and have the best outcome for the children, irregardless of the parents, the adopted parents, whoever, I don't know. But I think it warrants us looking into that to the extent that we have the authority to do so. So, any other comments? Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion to go into closed session per General Statute 143, 318.11A5. And those permitted to attend would be County Manager Kathy, Clerk to the Board, Ms. Solomon, County Attorney Ellis Hankins, and Finance Director Amy Warrenberg. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A motion to go into closed session, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Need a minute for IT to get situated.